The webinar is currently recording.
No, wait till 5:30.
I have 5:30,
You have 5:30? All right.
or Apple has 5:30.
I have 5:30 as well. Okay, here we go. All right. Welcome everyone to the ongoing budget session agenda workshop. I entertain a motion to open this hearing.
So
It's not a
moved.
hearing, it's a work session,
It's a work session. Yeah.
and I second the motion to open the work session.
Here we go. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. I'll notice that Mayor Murphy is over at the waterworks and will be with us late. And Trustee Tafour is MIA. No explanation, but that's not new. All right. So first discussion item is the Harbor Master Parks Recreation Department. And we're going to send it over to Jerry. Who's going to lead us with this, Jerry?
So I think Harbor Master Jeff LaRusso should go first. He's got a quick budget. I'm not going to say it's a small budget because it's not, but it's a quick budget. So Augie or Dan, if you can put up Jeff's budget. I think he has 1 or 2 items there that he wants to talk about with the board, and that's it.
1 second, I'll put it for you.
Take your time. We just started.
Jerry, it would also be helpful if everybody can give a quick synopsis of what's different and where the big increases are in this budget for the last budget.
That's what we'll do now. Those, do you mean those particular lines, right? Sure.
Yeah, those particular lines.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah.
And Augie, is what you sent today any different than what was in the budget book?
No, I just took the pages out of the budget book, so it's easier to find.
Yeah, so you can just pop it up. Okay,
Thanks.
Jeff. Let's go to, right, so Jeff, your salary line is 7230-0110. We discussed bringing in an assistant harbor master in March of next year, March of 2023, for a couple of different reasons. And you can go into that if you want to with the board. But I thought that since we had issues when we lost the previous harbor master to a medical, which I am very happy to know and learn that he recovered from, we had some challenges. And so it may be prudent for us to bring on an assistant harbor master. So if you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think it would be good for the village just to have somebody else so that in an emergency, somebody kind of knows the ropes, so to speak, and what's has to be done and what is important for the harbor to keep it safe and navigable, for the boaters. And then also in the fall so that there's no damage to village property, with ice and stuff like that.
Right.
So, a laborer that's not really, his job said that would be more of an assistant harbor master's role. And so that's why I think it would be beneficial to have that.
Additional to that was, in fact, maybe not every trustee is aware, but Harbor Master LaRusso is the supervisor of our Bay Constables and has other responsibilities on the police department side that at times he's handling something out there and we would need a harbor master or an assistant harbor master to take care of what we're dealing with in the marina. So, and Jeff, you're going to continue as Bay Constable, right? That's something you want to do. Yeah. So that's our discussion justification for that position. Go up to, what was the next line that you had increases?
Jerry, go back to that for just a minute. When was the last time we had an assistant harbor master?
I don't know when we had one, but we have one. We have an assistant harbor master civil service title that's registered to the village. But of course, I'm a short timer, so I don't know when the last time we had one. But when we checked with civil service, there is an assistant harbor master position listed with civil service. So we must have had one at one time.
I never sought to have the title added, but it's been there since for many.
Before
many
Dan,
years.
right?
Yeah,
Been there before 10, 11?
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And this would be, starting next March would be a full-time position?
Yeah, March will be a full-time position. What was
So
the
it
other?
would really be a much higher salary, because that would just be 3 months.
Yeah, what's the annual salary?
It was,
On the budget, it's 31,250.
Yeah, I think that's a 4-month salary.
That's
that is a
my-
4 month.
Quarter, right?
Yeah, that's a 4-month salary. So it's 3 times that,
Okay.
in the low 90s.
When is, it starts when? March what?
March, April, May. It starts, I think, February or March.
You said March.
Yeah,
February.
So it's a
I think
3,
it's February. So it would be February. That's a 4 month. We put in 4 months, not 3 months, because that would be too high.
right, okay.
4 months would be February, basically to ramp up for the season, for next season.
How urgent is the need for this?
Jeff can talk a little bit about that.
I mean, it's not urgent like it needs to be done this year, but I think, definitely going forward, it would be a good idea to have one in place. So, and even if there's another Ida, the situation like that, we didn't have a lot of coastal flooding with Ida, thank God. But if that was a different scenario and a different storm, I mean, we could have had a real disaster along the coastline as well as the rest of the village with, when you get a coastal storm like that and boats start floating off of blocks and, that they end up in the street, I mean, it could have been a real disaster.
So what I want to say to that is that we were extremely fortunate to be able to have the supervisor of the Bay Constables join us as the harbor master with all the certifications, with all the boat mechanic experience. Many of you may or may not know, Jeff sold his business to take our position. So we were extremely fortunate to have Jeff with us. I didn't know Jeff before we started looking for a harbor master, truthfully. I don't get in trouble with Bay Constables, so I don't know that. But it takes a long time for individuals to learn our marina, our waterways, what Jeff knows. We just happen to be extremely lucky to bring Jeff on and to work out a deal to bring him on while he continues to be the supervisor of the Bay Constables. So I don't know if we're going to get that lucky next time. And since we have Jeff for quite a few years to come, I think that training someone would be the most beneficial thing for us.
So this is someone who is not experienced with our harbor yet and would be gaining the experience on the job.
They may have some experience, but Lou, but not the experience that Jeff has, not the level of experience that Jeff has. Jeff has a lot. Well, because you see a lot of stuff that Jeff does in-house. Jeff, do you know how to fix boats and engines?
Yes.
See, those are the kinds of things that we don't have that. We don't have that fortune or that. It's hard to find people like Jeff. Let's put it that way. So if we can create another person like Jeff, that would be fantastic.
Well, I think Jeff does an exemplary job. There's absolutely no question about that. And I think that having an assistant is always great, but I'm really concerned that we're really top heavy in administration. And we have a tight budget. I'm not sure this is the right time. And to the best of my knowledge, I can't remember ever having an assistant harbor master. And I've been here a little while, at least a couple of years. And it's not that it can't be helpful. It's just a question of whether it's actually needed as opposed to desirable. And I think it's, from what I'm hearing, it would be desirable, but it could also be postponed. And it's not or a low salary that, one is coming in at.
Is this something we could do on a probationary basis, and we bring somebody in at perhaps a lower salary for a period of time, perhaps 18 months or 2 years before you bump it up?
Not with civil service. You could bring someone in at a lower salary, but their probation has to either pass or fail within 12 months.
12 months. All right, so we have 12 months then.
You have 12. Anyone that you hire, I have 12 months to dismiss if they're not working out without really much consequence.
But not just because we've decided we don't want to have the position.
That's correct.
So,
You
right,
have to,
so it's not,
once the probationary period ends, then you go to a Section 75 guideline scenario, which is pretty extensive.
so,
How does this figure with your OEM plans, Jerry?
Well, I have Jeff for my OEM. Jeff knows that having a second person. So Jeff's a 2-person department with an office assistant.
mhm.
There aren't that many people in his department for the type of work that he does and the kind of area that he covers and the level of responsibility. So there aren't that many people in the harbor master department. Luckily for Jeff, the other Jeff provides a lot of assistance, the Parks Department. But the Parks Department, as you know, is changing. They're doing a lot more in-house. They're doing a lot more. We're getting rid of contracts and contractors in order to do our work in-house. So that was the thought process, just bringing up the level of the harbor master. And I did challenge Jeff a little bit and said, look, if you can bring in the revenue for this, then we can discuss it at the board meeting. And Jeff's revenue projections are higher, and next year they'll be even higher with the action of the board next year.
Yep.
So I looked at it separately as a separate item, as opposed to the overall budget, to ask for some consideration.
But Jerry, if I'm hearing you right, it's desirable, but it's not critical.
No, it's not critical, but it
Am I
is
interpreting
desirable.
that correctly?
Yeah, it's not critical, but it is desirable to move the department forward.
No, I understand that. I understand that completely.
Mhm.
Hopefully,
Jerry?
the department's forward, but I'm not sure this is the right time.
Well, in the event of another emergency, which is seemingly inevitable, does it become more essential then?
As many people as I can get, I will lead to recover from another item. I can.
What
put it that way.
about? Let me ask Jeff. This salary, is this? Can you fill this position at a lower level, a lower salary level?
Yeah, we probably, a lot of it is if you get the right guy, I think you definitely could, preferably a younger guy that you can train that's going to be around a while.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Probably
Jerry?
salary. I don't know what the civil service, if there's minimums or anything like that.
Yeah.
No, Jeff, we set the salaries on civil service because of the manager form of government. So
Jerry,
we can bring this down to a $65,000 a year, $70,000 a year level. See if we get somebody for that. We could easily do that and give that a try. Ultimately, it's up to the board whether they want to fund the position or not, and that's really what it is. There's no sense in me talking more about it because you guys get it. You guys know what we're talking about.
And the mayor's here now, so that's.
Well, I guess, we were talking today about having to shift some things around to stay under the cap. And I'm just sort of, I think that everything
Assistant harbor master.
last few months has gone up because of inflation. I mean, I'm sure that's true of the village, it's true in everybody's personal life. And so, at a minimum, since this wouldn't be starting until February, I think if we were going to put it in, we'd still do what we did, last year and sort of put a pause and revisit. I'm just worried that, where there's a whole bunch more people that you have put in the budget. And that commits the village to a lot more expenses that are permanent expenses down the line.
There's
And
no doubt. There's no doubt that employees are permanent expenses, but we're looking.
I
we're
mean, I
looking
don't want
to
to call
build
them expense.
department.
It's not,
Yeah.
that's not the right phrase, but
Oh, I
it's,
know what you mean.
it's increasing our budget. It's committing us to something that, you know, we thought we had a big cushion when we started with this budget process. Now we don't have a big cushion.
So, so I can get you,
Can I just interrupt? Isn't part of the problem with the cushion that we move stuff from capital to the operating budget?
correct. I did that to demonstrate to the board that the recommendations of one committee member, that it would push us over the cap. And if the board wanted to include some of the capital items in the operating budget, we'd have to approve a budget over the cap. Once we remove those items from the capital budget that we put into the operating budget, and put them back into the capital budget, we're under the cap. So I did that for demonstration purposes, to demonstrate that if you want to go over the cap, there is value to going over the cap, because our rating agencies want to see municipalities go over the cap. But you don't have to, because our original plan was to include those items in the capital plan, which allows us to create and present an operating budget that's under the cap, which we can do right now. We did that exercise with Augie, Augie, 2 hours ago, less than 2 hours ago.
Absolutely.
But I think the point is, we are, in order to stay under the cap, we're putting operating expenses into our capital budget.
It
So
depends
that's
on how you define them. So if you define the way we define capital items is a $5,000 purchase. So if you want to put $5,000 purchases or police cars into the operating budget, go ahead and do so, but you're going to have to go over the cap. If you want to continue to put them in capital budgets, then you're under the cap.
Which is what we've been doing previously.
Correct.
So I guess what I'm trying to point out, that this is a change that was affected by, you know, the well-meaning suggestion of just one budget committee member.
But,
Correct.
but, you
It's-
know,
That's not quite,
isn't the controller guidance that that police cars should be in our operating expense and not in our capital expense? I mean, that's sort of like, just because we call it a capital expense doesn't mean it actually is a capital expense. It's an operating expense. And that's how we've been budgeting for a long time. And it's, you know, it's effective. It's just, we have a huge capital budget plan that we cannot accomplish because we can't afford to do it. We can only,
You have a third option too. You have plenty of money in reserves that you could use to purchase $250,000 in capital items, and it doesn't go in the capital plan, and it doesn't go in the in the operating. It gets paid by cash. Gets paid by cash. It's a one-time purchase. It's already money that was collected, raised by taxes, so people have already paid their taxes to the village, and we utilize their tax money to make purchases that the village needs for police cars or computers or screens like I'm looking at right now, things of that nature. We could easily do that because we have so much in reserves to be able to do that.
What's reserved now again? It's what, 17 million?
Yes.
Yeah.
I know it's not the cushion, but it seems like a pretty comfortable number to me.
But I don't want to also miss out on the fact that our rating agencies may actually bring our rating up if they see that the community is willing to go over the cap. I'm not asking to go over the cap an enormous amount, but I am presenting to you that the rating agencies see that as a community that's willing to raise taxes is a community that that is financially healthy and may actually get a bump in the rating system, which is what we've been looking for a little while now. And with all these great budgets, we still haven't been able to break through that ceiling.
I know, I'm sorry for coming in late, but what have we gotten through so far?
This is it. This is the first thing.
So, okay,
Assistant harbor master.
the harbor mess, oh, we're on the harbor mess, okay,
Yes.
the discussion seems to be about the cap.
And the assistant harbor master, whether we need to hire an assistant harbor master or it's not necessarily, it's a want and not a need type of thing.
They suggested bringing him in on late February for 31K, and then it would be a full-time position after that. We have a 12-month probationary period. Although we can't, I guess we're limited, you were saying, Nora, that what we can do with that probationary period, we can't just decide that we don't want the position anymore?
No, we can't do that. So that's not, yeah, I mean, either we're funding this position or we're not funding this position.
So what was the suggestion about starting in February? Please explain it to me.
There's because it's just to ramp up, to not bring in a new person during the busy season and ramp up during the off season to be able to provide training and guidance and all of those things.
Well, and I also
Wouldn't have
suggested
time.
that we could bring him in at salary and while he's being trained.
So just so we all are aware that, you know, our fringe benefits are 80% of whatever the salary is.
Mhm.
So you just can't look at the 30,000 and, you know, for 31,000 for, you know, as what the cost is to the village for 4 months, you know, or 90,000 some odd for the year. So you know, the issue is what if it, you know, why it may be desirable, maybe this isn't the right time for it.
The other issue too is that there's nobody that I know for the village that can operate, you know, a larger boat, like, you know, either one or a boat like that. So in an emergency that I'm not here, you know, that's another, you know, reason to need somebody around, you know, and also the crane. I don't think anybody else here in the village that knows how to load chart or operate the crane. So in an emergency, you know, there's not going to be anybody around to do it.
So that without this position, you're saying we have no redundancy there.
Right.
There is not for those specialized responsibilities. No.
Well, I mean, you know, I trust your judgment on that. I would like to see the number come down a little bit. It seems to me that looking ahead, that harbor is going to only get busier.
We hope that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly seems that way to me. You know, it would be nice if nothing changed, but things do change.
You know, there's been a request to add a series of other positions in the budget, and that's, you know, it's a big expense. It's a big commitment going forward. And, you know, we haven't, no one can remember the last time there was an assistant harbor master. So, and I know that, you know, a lot more is being done, and I appreciate that. And maybe it's something that we should revisit, since it's not going to happen until February. We revisit it and add it to the budget and see how we're doing, see if our numbers work the way we're hoping they're going to work, and that, you know, our revenue holds and our expenses hold.
So are you saying that we funded in the budget starting February? Like February to?
No, I'm saying let's see if we add it to the budget in January or February. I mean, if the request now is to start it in February. I mean, we're adding, there's a lot of positions that we're being asked to add. It's not just the salary, it's the commitment to individuals. We don't want to hire people and then cut jobs. There's, you know, the salary is, as Dan pointed out, you know, one thing, and then we have fringe benefits that are, you know, well over half of the salary.
Okay, I don't think that under the new pay structure that we've negotiated and the new tier for hires, it actually works out that way, but that's for another issue. But for me, the larger issue.
It may be less.
I'm sorry, what?
No, you're right. It might be less. The number may have gone
Yeah.
down. We don't know, but that's something we should be
Okay,
factoring.
but that was the aside. For me, I guess what I'm concerned about is that this community, both in its budgeting of maintaining buildings and, having the staff that is needed to perform the functions that this community's citizens are expecting us to perform, we've kind of been, running very thin, without an engineering department, without a planner, with a robust harbor that, that doesn't allow Jeff to take a day off during the summer. I guess, we're a community of 20,000 now. And, town of Mamaroneck has an environmental planner. They have a planner. They have 2 engineers, and so I guess what I'm saying is, if we want to provide the proper services and we want to, and I think our citizens expect that, we have to, staff up appropriately. And, I think we have our professionals telling us that this is what you need to run a good community these days. And, I think that there's a lot of projects that we could be doing, and especially with flooding, that would really benefit from the engineer and the extra engineer and having that, and not having to go out to, every time that something has to be done, going out to bid to do that. And, I just think that it's time for us to, not always be a mom and pop. We want to have, specialized and individual service for our residents, but, to do that in this day and age, we really need to have the professionals on staff. So, I mean, I'd like to hire this person in February, and, and put that in the budget for February. Jeff's been doing an excellent job in the harbor, and you can see it. You can see it just as you drive down there. I was down there the other night, and it really is, shining like a new dime.
Mayor, I have a question for Jeff. May help clarify this. Jeff, if there's if we bring someone in at a lower salary with the opportunity to gain those certifications that you have, what's the timeline? So like, I don't know what your captain's license or whatever you want to call your license, what's the progression to that?
So you can get your basic license, and you have to have the sea time. So you have to have like 180 days worth of sea time before you can get just what they call the 6-pack license, which is operator vital. So if they have that to do the classes and take the test, you can do it in about probably 10 weeks.
Oh, so it's not that much, it's not years. We're not talking about years.
Well, then if you want it, like my license is a master, so that takes years.
Yeah.
You have to have the sea time, and that takes years to get that.
So Mayor, what I'm suggesting is if the board can consider bringing in someone at a lower salary, providing that individual the opportunity to work under Jeff and gain those certifications while they work here. The crane license certification is the same thing. How many hours did you need to get your crane cert?
That was 500.
Right. And so if we had someone, if you could give someone 500 hours of cert, I mean, that would take years, but they would have the opportunity to work with us with our crane and gain their crane certification.
Right.
I mean, they really have to work on the crane for those hours to count. They can't just be working for the village.
Yeah.
It has to be.
Yeah. It's time on the water or time on the crane.
Yeah.
But I mean, if they're holding taglines and stuff like that and just working with the operator, that counts as time.
Yeah, they have to be on the crane.
That counts as time.
Were you an oiler?
I'm sorry, what was that, man?
Were you an oiler on a crane?
No, just an operator.
Okay.
Well, I mean, my feeling is that we're a coastal community in a time of climate change. We got to do our job, and I think we need some redundancy in in that position. We can't, you know, if Jeff sprains an ankle, we're out of business. I mean, you know, we gotta do what we gotta do.
Right, that's right. That's,
So it would be February hire, 65 or approximately 65,000. No, 61.5. To bring someone in at 20,500 would be a 61.5 starting salary with the opportunity to gain the certifications that need to be obtained.
Does that
That would
seem,
probably be as low as we could go.
does that seem that would be attractive enough, Jeff?
yes. Yep, I believe so.
Nora and Dan?
You know, again, I think Jeff does a fantastic job.
That's
The
not a
harbor
question.
is, you know, at its full capacity is 2,500 boats. We're down significantly from that. Hopefully we can get back to that. But we've been able to run for, you know, years, you know, with exceedingly efficiently and as a model harbor without the position. I'm being told that we, if I'm understanding everything, if we don't have the position filled, the services are not decreased. We continue to increase the services. I think it's a desirable approach, but it's not a needed approach. And I'm not sure this is the right time for it. So I would say I'm not in favor of doing it at this time. And I'm one of the biggest advocates for the harbor. I use it probably more than most people in this community, and definitely everybody on this board and in the village, with the exception of Jeff, who's there more than I am.
You know, I guess when we say now isn't the time, I don't think you're gonna have a budget that's more advantageous than what we have today. You know, we don't know what's gonna happen next year, you know, so when's the time? You know, when we hit lotto?
And we've got nothing but good news from Jerry. I mean, you expect it to get a whole lot better than this?
Not only that, but there's a commitment from Jeff that, Jeff, you can explain. I said, look, we can talk about an assistant harbor master as long as you talk about revenue increases. That was exactly what I said, because I'm Mr. Revenue. I don't let people spend money that's not going to be collected.
So
So
Jeff,
Jeff,
how
what
does
have
this
you-
give us extra revenue?
Yeah, what have you done? What have you done to be able to bring in some extra revenue? I know what it is, but
We had the fee increases, you know, from the winter, but then we also have the fishing boat charter that just got passed last night. So between that and also the parking revenue that they're gonna bring in, that could be an additional 60 to 70,000 just in parking.
we've expanded kayaks, right? Kayak storage.
And the kayak storage, we started a kayak winter storage program. So now we're collecting, you know, winter storage for kayaks because we put them inside the garage, up in the loft for the winter time.
What I'm trying to say is, you know, the department heads don't get what they want without working for it. So, I mean, you just, so extra revenues coming in. I mean, we'll tighten up our revenue as much as possible. We'll bring in as much as we can, provided that, you know, I mean, at some point, we're going to have to redesign the docks so we can bring in potentially or utilize potentially the S dock a little bit more. I'm not an expert at it. I'm just being told that could happen. So things of that nature. And all we're looking for is someone to assist Jeff in the job that he's doing.
So, I think there's somebody with their hand up. And I think Jeff's having a technical problem.
Maybe. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
all camouflaged right now.
Right. Doesn't look like Jeff. I think that if we do it, we have to have a commitment to revisit in January before we've hired somebody, what the revenues are, because we got a real rosy projection, but our budget only has an increase for fuel. It doesn't have an increase for everything. And we spent a lot of time, you know, all of the docks have cost more, the salt costs more, everything we're buying costs more.
It does.
And, you know, everything everybody's buying costs more. That's just the reality. So if we're going to do this, I think it's not happening until February. If it were to go in the budget, you know, I would expect a commitment that we really revisit in January and see where we are in revenues. And if we're,
Nora, I would agree with
can I
that.
please finish?
Oh, I'm sorry.
And if it's as rosy as we think, then okay. But if it's not, we change our plan because it's not, I think the worst thing to do would be to hire someone who we can't afford to keep. I think that's,
I would make a commitment to, you know, to have a discussion about this in January.
Absolutely.
It's probably one of the few things in this budget that you don't necessarily have to pull the trigger on, unless you're in good shape. You're exactly right, Nora.
yeah. So I think that, and then because I'm, you know, I think he's a great harbor master. I think he's done, and I think that, you know, we are one of few communities. I mean, Rye is the only other community that has a harbor like this to maintain. And, you know, I know how much work it is to maintain a boat, and he maintains more than one. So.
Yeah.
Right, that's entirely reasonable from my point of view. I mean,
Yeah, it seems like a reasonable suggestion.
because I don't think it's good. I don't think that job's going to get any easier. It's going to get more difficult as time goes on. Okay, all right.
Jerry's done a really good job, and Lou may not know this because it's been happening, you know, it was happening really before you got here, but Jerry's done a good job in getting people cross-trained on equipment.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that you're going to get cross-trained on a crane. That's pretty
No,
specialized.
Right.
But
That's
that said, when people are asking, can you do this? Can you do that? When you know, I'm interacting with them, I have to tell them our staff is maxed out. They're task saturated. We can't necessarily get to everything we'd like to get to. We're thin.
We're exhausting staff.
We're thin, and we can push that only so far before it starts to really affect quality of life.
What it boils down to is a $20,500 line in the budget that with a commitment to revisit it in January, provided that things are you know, at least not a disaster this next January. And then if we have to hold the position, we hold the position, and we, you know, and then next budget season starts within a month or so right after that. And if it's not something that is feasible, then it just gets eliminated. It really is. It's not an expense that has to be paid. It's an item that could be revisited in the future.
All right.
So it'd be a 61.5 employee. And like I said, we already have the title in civil service listed on our civil service schedule.
But I thought you said that we had to bring him in at a higher salary because of that.
We talked about bringing a higher salary so that we could, they would have all the certifications we need.
What's
we
the
would bring-
lowest salary that you can bring in on that title, civil service title?
Anything, we can set the salaries, anything we want because of our form of government. We just have to have the title in the list of titles on our civil service schedule, which exists. That assistant harbor master, we had an assistant harbor master years and years ago, or at least we had the title for a long time. We continue to have the title.
All right.
I'm sure one of the 3 previous harbor masters who still live in the village could answer that trivia question for us.
Probably, yeah.
Is there anything more for Jeff?
I had a question about where was that? Where was that? Postage? It's a small thing.
Postage is out of line, Jeff. Your postage is way out of line.
I mean,
All those renewals, right?
No, I think that's a typo.
Talking to user input error.
Yeah, user input error.
Can we so we can reduce that, right?
300 to
Yeah.
300.
100, 350 is fine.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Don't you
We
but
just
don't
found
you
the
really
money. How about that?
But you do a lot of renewals. He has a lot of mailing to do.
Right, but what we started to do is to try and cut that last year. What I did was I'm making everybody come in and pick them up instead of us mailing them back. So we're really only doing one mailing.
Okay.
Because everybody has to come in and pick up their permits and stuff. And it's another way for me to make sure that they give me all their paperwork. Because when they mail
Okay.
stuff in, they don't mail the registrations, they don't mail their proof of insurance, and then
Mhm.
you have to chase them down. To
You keep it.
alleviate
So
that,
let
now they have to come see me and pick up their stuff, and we don't.
No incomplete applications anywhere.
Right.
Wait, so instead of us spending a 55-cent stamp, we make them use $4 gas to come visit
Right.
us. I love that. I mean, that's exactly what I'm looking for.
Get their paperwork.
Was that the only item that went up? There was a small item that went up too. I don't remember what else.
The only other one that went up was the boat repair.
Oh, yeah, boat repair line. Yeah, go ahead, talk about that.
The Harbor Master boat needs a tilt and trim unit. It rotted out. And that's an expensive part. It's like $3,000. So that's why that went up, because I'll change it myself in-house. I just have to buy the part. So that's like an additional part that we normally wouldn't change, that I need to get for that motor.
What line is that? Because I don't see it. I don't know why.
Uh,
Augie's looking for it too, and he has, oh, I see it. It's a 7230-04-3510.
Yeah, 3.5.
So it's a $3,000 item?
That part is about $3,000 from Yamaha, yeah.
Okay.
So
And
that's
what are you gonna charge to put it in? How much are you gonna charge to put it in?
free.
Okay, good.
So and that was it. I think that was the only other line that I had increased.
All right, so are we done with Mr. LaRusso?
See if-
I am.
Who's up next? Jeff or Jason?
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Jeff.
No, it's not Joe. It's Jeff. Thank you, Jeff.
Oh, Jeff, sorry, why did I say Joe? Sorry.
He's
That was the
last-
other guy.
the last.
I'm thinking about Joe. Jerry talked about Joe.
Yeah, he's healthy now, so that's good.
That's good.
Thank you, Jeff.
All right, have a good night.
Good night.
Night.
Which of the young men is up next?
Jeff Hahn is gonna go next. He wants to go next. He just texted me.
Now that you guys are all warmed up, I wanted to go next.
What page is Jeff on?
Augie will bring it up, Mayor. I'm not sure.
Nice haircut, Jeff. Oh, you got the page?
Just give me 1 second.
7110.
So it's 7110, the account number.
I need the page.
7110. 100. What page numbers are you going to use? 100 of 167,
Yeah,
right?
100 and 167.
yeah, 100 and
Page
167.
100. Numbered on the top.
Page 156.
He just
Yep,
said,
156 on the bottom, the typewriter numbers.
oh, at the bottom. I'm not doing that. I'm going by the one on top. Hi, Jeff.
Hello,
How are you, buddy?
good, how's it going?
All right. Why don't you tell us your tale?
So I am the general foreman of the Parks Department. The Parks Department deals with approximately 144 acres of grass cutting, just over 5 miles of sidewalk during snowstorms. And we also deal with a lot of 24-hour buildings. Example, police station, fire departments, train station walkways. So we try and keep all that safe during emergencies. We do a lot of stuff in-house, or we're trying to do a lot of stuff in-house. We took over the hanging flower pots on Mamaroneck Avenue. We actually successfully seeded for the first time ever in-house in the village of Mamaroneck recently. We like to, here in the Parks Department, we like to make a lot of flower beds and pollinator gardens and all that happy stuff.
So Jeff, could you walk us through the major item changes?
Sure, one of the first major item change would be the small engine mechanic stipend.
Yep.
I would like to request that go from 3,000 to 5,000.
Explain who that is and the facilities that we got him this year and those kinds of things.
So we have an employee, James Mallon, very excellent small engine mechanic. This year, we were lucky enough to but take over another garage down at the Parks Building to create an actual machine workshop. Jimmy handles over 12 pieces of equipment, all in-house. Ever since Jimmy became the small engine mechanic, I can't even remember when the last time we sent the machine out to be fixed outside of our own garage. During emergency situations, for example, this year during one of the snowstorms, one of our salters broke down. We were able to fix that in-house within 30 minutes and get that piece of equipment back out on the road without even skipping a beat because of Jimmy. So I would like to increase his stipend from 3,000 to 5,000. Any questions
So-
on that one?
So he's saving you money?
Every year.
Saving a lot of money every year. We have
Lot
not
of time.
sent a piece of equipment out to a third party in probably 8 years. We do all in-house stuff with Jimmy. He welds for us. He does some light truck auto mechanic for us too, which relieves the mechanic shop for small nuisance problems that he just takes care of himself. I would say we save a lot of money having him in-house.
Yeah, what Jerry just mentioned, when you send something out, they'll get to it when they get to it.
Exactly, and we don't have the luxury of being able to wait for a machine weeks upon weeks of time. We need all of our machines out there to tackle our day-to-day operations.
And what is this? I guess I'm dense. What's the stipend? What is the stipend here?
The
The auto
stipend,
small
5,000?
engine mechanic.
From 3 to 5.
so it's
No, I understand, but I'm asking I don't
it's
understand
additional.
between the stipend and the salary and why and how that's handled.
I can explain that. So the stipend, we use stipends to reduce the number of titles that we have. So instead of having a small engine mechanic, which we would have to get a civil service title for that, or bringing it to our repair shop and having a small engine mechanic there, we provide a laborer with a stipend, and he does both laborer's work and small engine mechanic work.
Plus, as a laborer, Jimmy already has a contractually mandated salary.
Yep. So Jeff, you have some increases in seasonal, in overtime, and
Let me just go back to that for a second, just so I can clarify. So that laborer, when he's doing that mechanical work, is doing basically work that's above his title.
correct, sir. That's correct. Said the union president.
Got it? I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, it's okay. The next increase we have is the Parks Department seasonal labor. We're going to go from 35.
You have a laborer that's vacant at, a little less than 20,000, then going up to just under 40,000. Am I misreading that or?
No, you're not misreading that. The laborers start at 39,319. That laborer became vacant during this last year. So we had to move his salary into a different position. So a laborer, see if you look at line 80, laborer, that's zeroed out because that laborer became a motor equipment operator.
Okay.
And so that was the difference. So it's not like the salary is increasing from 19,660 to 39. 39 is the negotiated salary of a starting laborer, which is still vacant. It's been vacant. Jeff, how long haven't you had that vacant? How long has that position stayed vacant? When did Michael get bumped?
That position has been vacant since early 2021, late 2020.
But Jerry, I'm sorry, I don't understand. If you have a position at 19, whatever it is, a little less than 20, okay, and it's vacant, you're keeping that position, but you're increasing it, to almost double. I don't understand how that works.
So
And-
we had an employee that was promoted to Parks MEO, which then in turn created a vacancy for a laborer's position.
Understand?
Yeah, but Dan, when the board adopted the budget last year, there were several positions which in the tentative budget last year were supposed to be for the entire year, but the board cut that back so that we would hire them at 6 months into the fiscal year. So that 19,660 was the adopted salary based on hiring someone at 6 months last year.
And
We
now-
froze positions for 6 months.
You post positions for 6 months.
Understood. Okay. Go ahead, Jeff.
Right, so next is Parks Department seasonal labor. Request that it goes from 35,200 to 48,000. This covers one weekend bathroom cleaner who works Saturdays and Sundays and 4 part-time laborers. One of those part-time laborers, all they do during the season is water trees from 7 a.m. in the morning to 3:30 p.m. in the afternoon. We have over 200 trees that get watered during the season on a daily basis. And that position really needs to just be on its own, and that's all they do. So we can promote healthy tree living and growth. The overtime goes from 28 to 40,000. This is mainly because we do a lot of overtime for the Larchmont Little League league. It's all the in-house maintenance we do for them. Most of that actually gets reimbursed to us. So we pay for the overtime up front for that. And then at the end of each season, we get reimbursement from Little League. Another
Please
reason
scroll
why
up a little,
that,
please.
You'd be more specific on the numbers. How much I know what's in the budget. How much do we get back?
so we get back, last year we got back just shy of 8,000. It really fluctuates year to year because some games are rained out, some games are not rained out. Sometimes they have makeup games where we come in and work extra overtime to get the field ready. It's really a weather dependent situation. So it's not a set number for every year. Every year it fluctuates up and down.
But it's okay. But what I'm hearing is it's even with the fluctuation up and down, doesn't cover the additions of the overtime. It covers
But
part
There's
of it.
also,
Well,
there's also regular overtime.
There's
also
there's more additions. That's just part of it. The other additions is us as a Parks Department is doing a lot more in-house maintenance. We're catching up on things that have been forgotten about. For example, people don't really look at this every day, but we've had a lot of garbage cans that needed work and replacement and repainting. And instead of buying a new garbage can for X amount of dollars, we are able to take that garbage can, work on it in-house, fix all the parts to it, repaint it, and put it out there.
Yeah, and this also covers weekend garbage collection in the parks, right? Or is that a different line?
Yes, this is weekend garbage collection in the parks also.
Yeah, that was a major item for the board when we first set this up, was to make sure that the cans were clean on the weekend to make the park presentable and also, not be a mess come Monday morning.
We were getting a lot of complaints on Sundays about the state of the park.
And Jeff, when you have this fluctuating overtime, who approves it?
The way I work overtime is I'll send an email to Jerry stating what we're going to be doing. And at that point, it's yes, approved, or no, I'll see you next week.
Okay, all right.
It's a multi-step authentication or whatever you want to call it, just like your email.
Two-step, yeah,
Augie, can you scroll up, please, buddy?
Two-factor authentication.
two-factor.
Two-factor identify, right. Scroll to the overtime. Yeah, there we go. Okay.
Any questions
item.
on the overtime? All right. The next increase would be the 0230 line, equipment and tools. We're trying to go from 7,200 to 10,200. The plan here is at some point, our gas powered machines are going to be dying out and need replacement. We would like to take the step into replacing some of that equipment with electric equipment. The electric equipment is pretty pricey, but in the long run, I mean, the benefits from switching from gas to electric is phenomenal. So that's the reason for the increase there.
I know that would make the committee for the environment very happy.
We're trying to make everybody happy.
They've been pushing this pretty hard.
Next is 0406 training and conference. The reason the increase for here would be additional training for full-time parks members. So this year we were actually able to attend a conference, and the main subject of the conference was switching from gas to electric. And that really jump-started our minds and how we can essentially make the switch, see all the new equipment, see what commercial equipment they're coming out with on the electrical base, stuff like that. Also, seed fertilizers, turf seminars, baseball seminars to redo ball fields. So we could kind of learn more in-house on how to do things in-house instead of going out to contractors. Next is material 0411.10. That's materials, clay, topsoil, seed, fertilizer, flowers. This increase is for the infield maintenance we're doing, the in-house seeding program. Also, in that covers the extra cost that everything's costing. For example, a year and a half ago, a bag of seed cost $80. This year, a bag of seed cost $185. So we're anticipating everything going up. So there's going to be a raise in the material line. The next line, 0411.30, is for striping for the softball fields, the baseball fields, grading the fields, new clay. Again, the price of clay has gone up. Last year, we were able to get 10 yards of clay for about $700. This year, we're about $1,000 for the same 10 yards. So that's just to cover that increase. Paint is astronomical that we use for the fields. Calcium is astronomical. Everything is just through the roof right now. So we're asking for an increase in that line.
And you, Jeff, can you remind the board who paints the fields and the fields that we paint and the fields that the others paint?
So right now we paint 4 baseball fields, and then LMFC paints their own soccer fields out on Croce and Gromberg Field and Lanza Field. And the last would be contract services. That's basically to cover cost of labor and cost of materials for air conditioning contractors, plumbing and heating contractors, rodent controls up. I mean, everything's just up. So asking
We're able
for-
to reflect a 0% increase. Why?
Because we are taking on seeding ourselves and we're no longer paying out to have the fields reseeded.
Correct. So we're taking that 41,000, we're just reshuffling it for other items. Jeff, how did we handle heating and plumbing in the past? We didn't have much money for that. Did you have any?
So a lot of the stuff in the past has been done through capital projects and emergency funds. I know last year we had a problem with the heating and air in the blue room, and we had to scrape together funds to get that completed. But we have a regular maintenance heating and air conditioning company that comes and changes out filters and does the regular work on the machines. But even filters for air conditioners, they're up. Freon's up.
Mhm.
Everything is just basically up, and the bills compared from this year to last year, just for our regular maintenance on our equipment, has gone up.
Talk a little bit about park entrance beautification. Since I trained you guys, what have we been doing up there?
So park entrance beautification, we have been taking all the planting in-house
Mhm.
and not contracting out to landscapers and other planting contractors. We are currently learning about pollinator gardens. We are learning about I forgot the word, plants that are made for this area, basically. So
Native,
we're basically,
indigenous, native.
yes, native plants, sorry. So we're learning about all that, and we're actually doing our own beds, our own pollinator gardens, our own native plant gardens.
We're going to be
all the-
doing Prospect. We talked about Prospect and Fenimore.
We're going to be doing the planting at Prospect and Fenimore. We've been doing all the year-round maintenance on all of our flower beds, cutting back the rose bushes, cutting back the seagrasses, weeding. We've been taking control of all of that.
And the last thing I want to express to the board is our goose control and the $1,000. What do we use the $1,000 for?
So we use $1,000. We have a great team down here on Geese Patrol, Rob and Remy. We leave the $1,000 in goose control just in case there's any medical bills that we can help Rob out with, food, vitamins for Remy. Basically anything Remy needs, we try and give that to her, whether it's help with medical bills, food, a winter jacket, a new collar, a new leash. That's what that $1,000 is basically used for.
For the board's information, Rob and Remy live across the street in one of the awesome lofts across street from 123 Mamaroneck Avenue. And so they use the park to take their daily walks, maybe a couple times a day, but they also provide goose control for us, which is fantastic. Because we used to pay what, Jay? 10 grand?
$14,000.
That's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Is it having a good effect?
Oh, it's having a great effect. Remy is a well-trained machine.
Right?
Yeah,
What kind of a dog?
it's a shepherd. It's not a German shepherd. It's a
sheepdog.
I don't even want to say it because if I get it wrong, Rob's going to be very upset with me.
Yes.
So it's
You don't know.
of the shepherd breed, but is professionally trained. It almost goes through the same training that canine units train.
Mhm.
Yep.
So the dog is very, very effective at what it does and what its job is.
Yep.
This is geese.
Is that it?
So-
Jeff?
Yes,
Jeff, before you go, can I ask you, it's off topic, Armand Giannuzio Park, you know where that is?
Yes.
Can you put some flowers or something in that thing? It's really grim.
So I know a lot of people get excited when it's 70 degrees out one day,
Yeah,
but like every year we do flowers the week before
okay.
Mother's Day. So 2 years ago, when I came down here, we started a schedule of expanding our flowers throughout the village. I promise you that the week before is Mother's Day, there will be
Right.
flowers in Arvin Ganunzio Park.
It looks a little tired because the flowers that are there kind of got covered with dirty water in the storm in Ida.
Yeah,
And
so
Flowers,
They kind of look petrified.
I got pictures. There's nothing, well, yeah, maybe they used to be flowers. Who knows? No.
So as promised to the residents in that area,
Yeah.
we're gonna be doing some deep cleaning and stuff like that in a couple
Yeah.
of those parks.
They need to be cheered up a little bit over there.
Yeah,
Thank you, Jeff. And Jeff, thank you and the gentleman who's coming next for what you folks did around Christmas time
Yeah.
in the park with the lights for the kids. That was just amazing.
thank you.
Great.
And for the adults liked it too.
So at some point in the very near future, we will learn that the Parks Department and the Recreation Department have exceeded everyone's expectations in Westchester County, but we're not supposed to tell anybody that yet. So
There's accolades to come.
accolades to come, Mayor, and we are on we're on one of those tight lids right now until they're ready to announce it.
Oh, yeah.
We are a village that knows how to keep a secret.
Yeah, on Zoom and everything.
That's as vague as I could get.
Thank you, Jeff.
All right, have a good night, everybody.
Have a good evening.
Thank you,
Hi,
Jeff.
Jeff. Thank
Say
you.
hello to everybody. Okay, the next up, ever popular, Jason Pinto.
Hi, Mayor,
the
Board. Hello,
Recreation
everyone.
Superintendent. Hi, Jeff. Jason, how are you, my friend?
Good. How's everyone tonight? So my name is Jason. I run the Recreation Department along with a wonderful staff, recreation leader, three recreation assistants, and an office assistant that does both parks and recreation. So supports myself and Jeff. Together, we plan a lot of community events. We administrate the park permits. We run a beach, parking booth operations in the harbor. We are a community liaison for people willing to or wanting to do things in the park. Other village committees and boards also work with us. So we do a lot of administrative work in terms of making sure everyone has the proper permits in the park. We do all the field permits for kids. We plan leagues for adults, volleyball leagues. We do programs. Recently, we partnered with Keep Sync with their after school program in the pavilion. So that we have a lot going on. I almost consider my department a utility player in the village because we try to do as many things as possible, sometimes that aren't recreation related, that the manager's office or someone else may need from us, because we do kind of have expertise in a lot of different event planning and promotional things, and being able to run.
He's very kind. It's not someone else. It's just the manager's office. No one else asked him to do anything. It's just me.
Right, mostly Jerry's
You're
office.
very nice. You're very nice to say that.
Yeah, for example, Ida was we didn't do recreation, but we tried to help out the community with 1,000,001 other needs that they were all facing in terms of just basics. So that's the gist of what we do. If we want to hop into the budget, I don't know if you have any specific questions on the line, or I can go through some different changes, 2 big or 3 big categories. So it's up to you guys.
So I have
think-
one thing that I have to explain to the board. Well, go ahead.
Oh.
Dan. Sorry. Is it okay? I have to explain one thing to the board on the salary lines.
Go ahead, Jerry.
We will be funding a recreation superintendent this year, and we will be defunding the recreation supervisor line this year. The reason for that is because there is finally the opportunity to bring on a recreation superintendent into the community. We have been lucky enough to not have civil service hound us, is the nicest word I can find, that we do not have a superintendent. So we will have a superintendent at the end of June because things are lining up to that effect. And of
Anyone we
course-
know?
it's someone we know, but it's not someone I'm going to say. But they have been working as a recreation superintendent for wow, the entire time that I've been here. So
And
finally I'm able to make those
they've
moves.
consistently gone above and beyond the call of duty.
I agree with that.
Another well-kept secret.
Yeah, another well-kept secret. So Jay, talk about the other items, the highs and the lows. You got a 25% increase in overtime. You're going to have to justify that.
Yeah, so the 25% increase in overtime, we brought back some community events this year that we haven't had in quite a bit because of the pandemic. Tiki Invasion, our outdoor movie series. So we brought back some events that will increase our overtime a little. So that's why that went up. We also we get event reimbursement. So for example, like right now I have an event reimbursement line, there's like $3,000 in it. So other people ask us to do things, but they have to pay, the village won't pay for them to do that. For example, if somebody wants to have a birthday party, we require a monitor depending on the situation, and they'll have to pay the village for that on top of whatever the facility fee would be. So we do get event reimbursement. So this year, we're trying to raise that up a little bit so that way when we get those requests, we can fulfill them easier without having to go back to the board and requesting transfers.
Fair enough.
Does the board have to agree to raise fees to do that, or is that an administrative thing?
I believe that's an administrative cost because Jerry will say, go to Danielle, see what the rate is, and then we charge them, like, we don't make money, we charge them whatever the rate is of the employee. For example, movie shoots, that's a common one where they need to use the pavilion, but we're not going to let them use the pavilion till 11 o'clock at night without an employee there. They pay that rate on top of the facility rate. That's something that we don't know. We could get, I've had years where we've had a movie shoot every 3 weeks and then it could slow down. So these are like unpredictable things, but when the movies are here, that means we're making a lot of money. So it's a good thing to have, but yeah.
So the rate that you get from Danielle is the straight rate or the rate with fringe benefits included?
That's a good question. I could clarify with her. Jerry might know, but
yeah, it's the total. It's the total. It's the rate plus fringe. It's the hourly rate plus fringe, which is we have all those calculations because we provided them to FEMA in the past. So we have all those spreadsheets. I do want to say something about fees. You know, we're pretty easy on fees when it comes to certain groups and organizations. In the future, that's going to have to change because we may be one of the only communities that so let me put it this way. I think the reason a lot of organizations are attracted to Harbor Island Park, of course, the size and the space, but we're also pretty easy on fees. And at some point, you know, organized group sports that collect all sorts of money from their parents, you know, need to start contributing to the space and the organization. I mean, Jason, who handles all the schedules?
We do all the permitting, all the scheduling, all the billing, every time there's a little feet stomping on that grass, it's done through my office. All the insurance, that's alone. You know, you can't just come onto village property without being properly insured. And we double check, triple check concussions, sexual molestation. It goes on what is needed for people to use our field, which takes a lot of administrative work. And in the end, you know, brought in $60,000 in field maintenance revenue, which is what the leagues pay us. Soccer, baseball, some FASNY, and that's pretty much the big trio of users. But we could, that number is based off a $30 an hour per fee this year. Last year it was 27. So, you know, it's inexpensive in the big scheme compared to our neighbors, for sure.
Jason, in terms of percentages, are we underbilling by 50%, 10%, 300%?
So in terms of percentages, in terms of our hourly field rate, we're a good 25% below where we probably should be. Yeah. I mean, Larchmont's charging $50 and we're still at 30. So,
And let me tell you, so the reason when we looked at this budget with Jason, and Jason has all the numbers, and you've seen all the spreadsheets that he works on and creates, but what we may not be accounting for is the 370,000 plus 80% fringe rate in our salaries for our administrative staff. You know, we're looking at a lot of administrative costs and management that are associated with having all these organized sports. Meanwhile, doesn't seem that Larchmont has a problem at $50 an hour, and we get a lot of pushback at $30 an hour. You know, God forbid we bring it up more than 10% a year. It's like you're killing someone. So some of that's going to have to be a hard discussion in the future. And unfortunately, it seems like we talk about raising fees, 2-3 times a year, but in reality, it's only once a year that we're raising fees. But it may have to be more often as we do more cost analysis to look at certain fees that really seem out of line with other communities. That's what I wanted to say about fees. Sorry about the interruption.
No, it's a cogent point.
The other items as we go down, if we just quickly, there's no change. So in previous budgets, we cut our supplies line by 10%. And I made the decision strategically to keep those cuts in place for majority of my lines in order to increase others, mainly being day camp. And we also increased our beach size, but we could just go down to day camp real quick. I think because that's where the biggest changes are in terms of money and also in revenue. So we increased our part-time salaries and our for our older kids and lower and younger kid groups up by 7.2%, but we also increased our camp size from 260 kids last year to this year we're at 311 as of now. So we generate more revenue, but
As of now,
right now we're at 311.
when does it close?
It is waitlisted now because we have to make sure that we get enough staff to keep the ratio for the amount of kids. So that's my biggest concern. If I knew I had enough staff, I would be able to take more. It's just there's a real huge demand in camp. So between all of the municipalities, it's really a popular thing. So we increased our staff because we're having more kids to keep the ratio for the ratio program. And in turn, we increased our supplies and our contractor services and fees. Big one being busing. So we're going to take the older kids on a trip. We cut all that money out. It's about $40,000 we spend in busing. I am not anticipating spending $40,000 because my goal is to keep the younger kids on campus at Harbor Island. We have 44 acres and a whole lot of vendors, and we can bring in to keep those kids occupied. Whereas the older children, 7th, 8th, 9th graders, we like to send out on, a half dozen, 6 trips a year. So that's where the little bit extra busing cost comes in. But overall, this budget shows $280,500 in expenses towards day camp, where our revenues are, this year our revenues are going to be, I'm projecting them at based off the numbers I have at 370,000. And I would also like to note that that includes 15 scholarship village residents this year, which is about 13,000 and change in revenue lost by scholarshiping those children. That's 70. They pay 25%, and so we scholarship 75% of the cost, which is really important. And I would always like to take more, but it's split between Mamaroneck school districts and Rhinebeck school districts, and we work with social workers and make sure they're on the free and reduced lunch program to make sure there's a real need. But that's really important to highlight in the whole big scheme of camp, because the idea here is that campus for everyone. And, you know, I think we hit a somewhat happy medium in terms of charging the fees that the village needs in order to keep the program alive, while also trying to make it as affordable as possible for our residents. I mean, we're talking about 40 some odd dollars a day, if you really break it down, of what they're paying to send their kid to camp for 6 hours, which is as cheap as I can make it based off the circumstances and the costs that we're facing. So that's for camp.
You have a 90,000 in net revenue, and does that bring back the employee benefit that we had to give up last year?
Yeah.
Is that what you said, 90,000 in net revenue?
Yeah, it's, you know, projected. Yeah, that's
Okay.
where we're looking at right now, based off. And the reason, how do I put this? It's a high projection because I know what money we've received so far. I know what the payment plan balances are. I know what the credit card transaction fee percentage is going to be. So that's where that 370 is pretty educated in terms of the way I'm thinking about it. So
have we? My other question is, have we developed a program for the afternoon kids with Keeps or not yet?
So I'm working on it. I have kids registered for the afternoon program. Keeps just trying to find the cost-effective way of doing it. If not, I will do it at a break-even cost basis so that the village doesn't gain or lose anything, but yet the service is still available to parents.
So if you can explain that to the trustees that may not know, what's the dismissal typically, and then what would be the after program?
So the dismissal typically 3 p.m. and then the after program goes either a parent could choose either 3 to 4 or 3 to 5, depending on what their need is. So we haven't had that in 2 years because of the pandemic and because we were limited on intermingling of groups and staff and things like that. But it's a big request because a lot of parents work. We also offer the early morning service, which you could drop off as early as 7:30 a.m. For an additional fee, and that's pretty well attended to because parents need to work.
Okay. Did you go over beach and our increased capacity at beach?
So the next item would be beach. I would like to note that the biggest expense here is our utility bill. It has doubled. So it went from $20,000 previously to 40, and that's not because that is water utility rates did go up, but we cut back the spray ground hours significantly during the pandemic in order to try to cost and save money and things like that. So we shortened the amount. We were only having the spray ground open on Friday, Saturdays, and Sundays. And now Jerry wants to bring it back to our regular 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. 7 days per week. So that main additional expense is the utility bill on beach.
We got a lot of complaints about having it closed.
Oh yeah, ton of complaints. But you know, this also goes back to our capital project because we do have, you know, a capital project in there that would, you know, redo our spray ground and hopefully introduce some sort of water filtration system where we're not, you know, literally using fresh water, because that's what it is. It's fresh water, no recycling at all. Which, you know, $40,000 is a big utility bill, similar to what we're doing with Lancet Fields and trying to optimize with LED lights versus our old school halogen. You know, optimizing efficient, making our operations more efficient.
Jason, talk about beach capacity. Oh, sorry, Nora.
No, I just thought with the spray ground, I know that we in fact, Jerry and I were at a conference once where we thought we might be able to, there might be some technology, but because it's so close to the sound, will the county actually let us recycle water?
They're going to need to approve a plan.
Yeah, I can answer that. I was, I don't know if you noticed, Jason. I made my bones on the spray ground. Yeah, that was the first thing I was like really involved in the village. And I was involved in it as a recreation commission member, then I became a trustee. And then I was on CZM. And the county would not let us recycle the water. They were afraid of the water not being treated properly and being sprayed on kids.
Yeah,
and
pathogens.
kids getting infections or whatever. So the county Department of Health actually shot that down. That was the original idea. And it was a county project because it was developed by the Community Development Block Grant, and the county designed it. And even after the county designed it, the county Department of Health said, no, you have to use fresh water.
Which makes sense. I mean, if and when we do a capital project for playground, I think it's just a good thing to investigate and see what we can do and let them shoot us down or whatever again. But it is a big bill. And so if there's any way we could figure that out in the future, it'd be great. If not, we deal with it, such as life, right? So.
Beach capacity and then Boston Post Road meters and the benefit.
So beach capacity, the county during the pandemic, they were giving us a hard time saying that, you know, we could only have a certain amount of people on the beach because of our water. So we were able to work with them and actually increase our beach capacity based off the square footage of our sand, because our sand is so much bigger than our water, than our swimming area. So we just had to keep, I think we were able to go up to like 900 people on the sand, as long as we still kept that under 300 while swimming. Obviously, you need the proper lifeguards for the amount of people, but so that was good. So we're able to, you know, during the pandemic, we were like shutting down the beach, keeping it only to residents because of this capacity issue, which I don't think we'll have anymore, and we'll be able to increase our capacity, which will hopefully, you know, bring up our revenues a little bit.
Turn away, because we turn away out of towners, which is where we make the most money on, because they come in later. They don't come in early in the morning.
Yeah. So this year we'll be back to normal operations, I hope.
Parking booth and managing the parking, maybe without meters, without multi-space meters this year.
Okay, so during the pandemic, we switched from pretty rapidly. We switched from having the person that's at the booth taking the money to folks paying at the pay and display machine. And we still needed the attendant in there for informational purpose, for explaining, you know, what's going on, what people have to do. People get very confused. Now that the pandemic is hopefully receded a little bit, we're going to go back to and we know more. We're going to go back to taking the money via cashier, whether that's cash or credit card. Our Harbor Island parking revenues went down dramatically when we switched to that pay and display, meaning people just weren't paying. They were just going to park. They weren't going to the machine. They weren't putting the ticket on their dash. Some would get tickets, some would not. I mean, it's just, you know, luck of the draw. But we think that we're going to try to, you know, realize more of our revenues by being able to have that cashier in the booth this year and doing what they normally done, which would be take the money or the credit card, whatever it may be. So that way we really be able to capture each person that's coming in that's paying the daily rate versus kind of the free-for-all aspect of what it was last year and the previous year before that, in terms of go to the pay and display machine.
The other thing is, I think we'll bring more people into the park to pay the daily rate, because they will not want to park on Boston Post Road and feed the meter every 2 hours, even though there's a 2-hour limit. People think that the 2-hour limit means that they have to come back and feed it every 2 hours or use the app. They may park on the Post Road and use the app, but the truth is, you know, it's a lot more, it's economical. It's more economical, and it's also more convenient to park in the park instead of on the Post Road.
Right. And we're also going to be able to capture 99% of all boat ramp revenues, whereas we were relying on folks to pay at the pay and display machine, and they were launching their boat and driving their vehicle away. So no one would even know that they launched a boat, because they don't have a vehicle that we could ticket in the harbor, and they didn't pay at the pay and display, and that's it. So, you know, we're trying to close these little loopholes in our daily parking system.
Yeah, I saw something online today. I guess you installed one of the kiosks on Boston Post Road for the parking. And
Yeah, I saw that out
somebody
there, yeah.
Somebody online said, "Oh my God, did anybody know about this? How can they do this without telling us?" And I'm gonna go home tonight and I'm gonna say, "Well, I knew about it." I'm sorry to knock on your door.
We knew about it.
Um,
Jay, I just want to say in front of the board that when I need someone to do something special, you're my first call. And I appreciate you always picking up the phone because I know that our phones, they display who's calling and you don't have to pick up because it's going to be more work, but you keep picking up. And I really appreciate that. I really do.
Oh, you're very welcome. Jerry doesn't always, most of the time he calls us for work, but sometimes he just asks what's going on and how we're doing. So that's good too, because we're going to get into a part of the season in about 6 weeks or so where it's relentless. There's 102 days is where we make, I think we have $1.4 million budgeted in our revenue. When I say responsible because there's sport time money, I say I'm responsible for collecting, our department's responsible for collecting like 900,000 of that. 75% of it is between Memorial Day and Labor Day. So it's really a go very soon. So thank you.
You know what, to echo what Jerry just said, during the height of the pandemic, you were Johnny on the spot, giving everybody hand cleaner and gloves and masks all throughout, not only the village, like staff, but all throughout the community.
Yep.
I would call you up and I would say, Sarah Newman needs this, and you'd make sure we had it. And, the senior center, you kept them supplied. And, you and your staff did an amazing job. And, during the storm of September 1st, I remember driving down to the pavilion and Jerry was there and one of your staff members were there because we were going to use that as the evacuation point for folks who had pets and who couldn't go to the high school. And one of your staff, Donna, was there. And while she was there, I believe her home probably flooded in that time. So
it did.
That's the kind of crew you got. That put the job above themselves a lot.
You're blessed to have a great team. They'll do anything that the village asks. People are invested in it. They live here. The employees, a lot of employees live here. They're invested in it. They want the community to succeed. So that's what I'm lucky to have. When you have someone who, treats the parks like their home. That's what people who live here do. So we're lucky.
Yep. And talking about the spray ground, and 20 years ago, I was working on that, and this year, past summer, I got to see my grandson plant it. So what's the thing about old men plant trees in the shade of which they'll never sit? But it was fun to see that.
Yeah, well said. Full circle.
Thank you, Jay.
You're welcome. If there's not any other questions, everyone have a great night.
You too, Jay.
Yeah, happy Easter, kid.
Thank you, Jason.
Hey, you too, guys. Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.
What do we have to finish up here?
It depends on when you want to have a conversation. I mean, we still have a half hour on this meeting as scheduled, but if you want to have a conversation about the over the cap, we can have that conversation, maybe iron out the decision tonight, or we can have that conversation on the 25th.
And weren't we supposed to talk about Westchester, Sustainable Westchester? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So we have resolutions for that.
Yeah,
I think I saw the resolutions for that today.
Valley sent them.
Yeah.
What is this about?
Oh, so last night Sustainable Westchester was at our meeting.
Right.
And they want to extend their contract for 5 months, not a year. But it involves us agreeing to work with them and then in a timely fashion so they can get all of their customers notified. Is that it in a nutshell?
That's in a
Okay,
nutshell.
so it's the memorandum of understanding.
Yeah, we would stay with the same vendor. Of course, the price goes up. They're trying to utilize the best strategy that they can come up with to, to hedge against the increases that we're all
Okay.
experiencing. So,
As you all know, I wasn't here yesterday, but I will defer to those of you if you think that it sounds to me like something we should probably do.
Well, I think what's gonna happen. I can't find the resolution.
I got
That
here, Nora.
they're going to have to notify everybody. So people will have the same opportunity to opt out of this short 5-month.
So
Yeah.
it doesn't change anything per se, it just extends it for 5 months instead of the usual year. Is that
but it
correct?
brings the number up, Mayor, on the kilowatt hour. It goes from 7 to 12, 12 and a half on the kilowatt, 7.5 to 12 and a half on the kilowatt
So
hour.
people can then opt out if they want.
If they want to, yeah, and go conventional.
Okay.
To the
I see it
market.
here. It says, be it further resolved that, I guess that's the second part of it. Must be a first page that I'm not getting.
Do
There it is,
people
there it is.
have to, do people have to opt out or do they have to opt in?
Opt out, that's always been the case.
You have to opt out, Dan. That's why they get
That's the way it's been
notified.
working since the inception of the program years ago.
That's why they get notified, so they can opt out. Many of these programs worked as an opt-out type of
Most of
scenario.
Westchester signed up for this. Yeah. I know we were doing it when we were with the town, when I was with the town. Okay, it's a resolution selecting the green option with more environmentally viable sources of energy as a Village of Amerenik's default energy selection for the Village of Amerenik's option in a community choice aggregation program. Consumers still have the choice to go brown. Do you want to be green or brown?
Great. Such a horrible color.
Yes, it is. For a number of reasons. So does everybody have this in front of them? In your packet?
It was circulated today.
Yes, I see it here. I got it now. I think it's a good thing for the community. And people can opt out if they, if Con Ed's cheaper, there's no guarantee Con Ed's gonna be cheaper with the way things are going in the Ukraine. Does anybody have any questions, concerns about the resolution?
The guy Nick had a good chart, showed the difference, how steady this program is compared to the ups and downs of Con Ed. I mean, the spike in Con Ed, everyone knows, in January was ridiculous. There was a huge outcry.
Yeah.
It seems to have leveled off.
The price of gas,
Yeah.
the price of electricity too.
Price for electricity. So there was the need to do as much solar in the future as we can.
Okay, somebody want to make a motion?
So moved.
Second,
Mr. Fusco.
Trustees Young,
Yes.
Natchez,
Yes.
Lucas,
yes.
Mayor Murphy.
Hi, thank you all for doing that last night. Now let's get back to the discussion about the budget. What are we over the budget now? Over the cap.
I don't have that number. Augie has that number somewhere.
I'm getting it.
I know.
Sorry.
I know you do. I know you are. You got to write it on the inside of your hand like a phone number.
While Augie's looking up that, Jerry, what is the number of capital projects that were added to the budget?
I think it was 230,000, 233,000, something along those lines. I have it on my email. I just got to pull it up.
Augie?
So currently we're over the cap by 188,000.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if we took, I mean, this is just proposal, if we took the $233,000 that were over the cap and took that at a surplus, then we're under the cap.
Correct.
Yeah. So you would be adding surplus to this budget, or you'd have an agreement amongst the board to purchase those items out of surplus at a later date. You don't have to necessarily attach it to
We
this
don't have to
budget.
add it to the budget. We just
No,
take
you don't
it.
have to.
So
use surplus to pay for it.
how does that affect it wouldn't get us to 30% of,
No.
it wouldn't get us to the
The
policy of fund
threshold,
balance policy.
yeah, no,
No.
not at all.
We're several million over the 30% threshold.
Because I do think we have to really think about, what we've done this, spent 2 years on this exercise of the capital budget. And I think we have a huge, for a long time, we just had a capital budget wish list, and our capital budget's still in some respects a wish list because we can't afford to do all the projects.
Yeah.
But, and maybe we need to be borrowing more while it's still relatively cheap to do more projects. But I think we also have to consider what we put in our operating budget and really think about whether these items should be capital expenses or operating expenses.
That's a
And
good
whether
point.
they're really one-shot expenses that should be
Right.
used in the appropriated fund balance, from the fund balance, because that's really, whether they're really one-shot, like is a police car really one-shot, or is it a repetitive expense that wears out?
That's a good point, but we could also, what I've been saying, and just in my time on this board, is that every year the fund balance is growing and not lessening. And if the stuff like we're paying for tonight, if we just use that every year, that's a good use of surplus. In my
Yeah.
view.
And I mean, maybe not every year. I also think, we have tremendous expenses coming up with Village Hall, no matter what happens.
But
The old Village Hall.
there's also the argument to be made. If we put the 233 back in, just for the sake of argument, what are
Oh,
we?
what was
owing
that
now?
number? Hey, Mayor, I want to make sure that number, because we talked about it today, but I can't find that email because too many emails. Oh, do you remember what that number was where you had that? Did you have it written down in your office?
The first one was 223,064 or 0.83% over the cap.
Okay, so let's.
That was I think that was the first email at 228.
Right, but right, okay, but what I'm asking for is the price of the items that were going to be capitalized.
Let me get them on. I have the spreadsheet open now.
On the screen.
You got it? Okay, I'm not looking at the screen. Okay, here we go. 383, 275. Sorry, I was off by 160.
150.
150. I was off by 150. Just a little off.
So you're not suggesting personnel, it's the top
And it was discussed.
12 or 15.
Yeah, it's
Was-
from clerk treasurer computer monitors to 20 sets of gear, turnout gear. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Not those. Those there. Now, when we're looking at public safety items, you start looking at public safety items and, you can definitely prioritize the public safety items from police department to, to fire department. And then this conversion. Okay, what's the LED conversion? Why do we have that in there for 12?
It's not the harbor, is that the Harbor Island lights? No.
No, the number's
There's
too
no
low.
number on it.
Yeah, it's blank.
Blank.
No, 12.
No, but that's the change. That's just the change.
So there is
There's
no
no-
number on it.
No.
Well, this has a positive, this has a quick REI, so this isn't a problem. The LED conversion. Village-wide LED conversion, that's not parks, that's not Lands of Field. We called it something else.
And Lansing Field is more expensive anyway.
Yeah, it was 100 and,
I mean, I think, I think this is, worth discussing. It's, again, it's sort of like, we're trying to be practical, we're trying to have policies, we're trying to be structured about it. And I think sort of doing it in an afternoon isn't doing it as thoughtfully. I mean, it may be the best solution, but it's not,
Well,
we're trying to develop like a system here.
Yeah, but here's the thing too, if we go over the cap this year to pay for that, then it's, that rate has already been raised. You don't have to go over the cap next year to pay for it. Now it's included in your budget. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
I do, I do understand.
I mean,
But I don't know that anybody wants to go over the cap. I mean, that's I think that's a conversation that we're probably going to have on the 25th.
Yep.
I mean, I think that's a conversation that has to, and so it's making it more transparent now. What about, I know that there were some, I didn't find all of them in the budget. There were some positions that we were going to add, but we haven't really talked about them in the budget.
They were the engineering office and the planner, which on the
Yep.
25th, we can discuss them and pull them out, or I can send you an email to decide whether you want to pull them out or not decide and deliberate over email, but on the 25th, we can decide whether we want to do that or not. But the,
I would rather not be doing this in public on the 25th.
yeah,
Well,
so our planner cost is low. If we can collect revenue, if we can collect escrow on our planner, if we hire a planner, we're really, out of pocket $30,000 to $40,000.
I have to say, I agree with you on that. I also think it's a very unusual practice.
Yeah.
Most communities don't do it. I'm sorry I voted for that. It was very early on in my tenure as a trustee, and it was the train had left the station.
Yep.
And I think considering we've had such a series of transitions and planners, and what we're doing now seems to be working okay. I'm kind of at the stage where it's not broken. Let's not try to fix it this year.
Also, Harry, you had indicated you were going to give us a cost analysis, which we haven't gotten yet.
Right. So I can tell you when we started looking at the numbers, because we haven't finalized it. When we started looking at the numbers, if we're not going to be collecting escrow on our planner, it's going to cost us a lot more than what we're actually.
And it's really an unorthodox practice to be collecting escrow for, full-time planners. I mean, I did a little survey of people that I work with. And it's just usually the escrows are always farmed out because you don't want a situation in which a staff person is actually being paid by an applicant. So I think that maybe we should never have passed that law. Maybe it's just not the right year to do this.
So then let me present maintaining the same model that we have with our planner, since we don't want to necessarily incur more cost out of pocket for
No.
having a planner that we were not comfortable charging out.
Mhm.
But you're going to have the $20,000 and $30,000 hits when you
Mhm.
want to hire somebody like Neil to do special projects, which is okay. As long as that's in contract services to be able to spend, that's what contract services are for.
I mean, it may be okay for the short term because we've got a lot of stuff going on now. Obviously, ideally, we would want a planner who's really thinking about, we want a planner who's thinking about long-term planning, not a planner who's providing escrow services. We want a planner who's, in charge of strategic planning for the village. And we haven't had that for quite a while.
We haven't, but when I first got here, Greg would attend many of our Board of Trustees meetings because there was a lot of items on there that impacted long-term planning. The thing is, if that's the way the board wants to go and they want to hire somebody to discuss and assist with long-term planning, then you bring in a planner regardless of what it costs, because it's someone that you want to have on staff. But if we think that that's not something that you're looking for, then maybe it's a next year type of item.
I think it's something we need to work towards.
Hold on, Dan has his hand up.
Actually, you're talking about two positions because you're talking about a planner and an assistant planner, unless I misread the budget.
Mhm.
But when we had a full-time planner that worked, which was Greg, we also kept hiring Neil and others for every special project. So it just,
I don't believe that's true. You know, when we did PLLC, which was the largest plan we had, Cutler did it on his own.
You remember what planning, what we have? Is it under building?
That's true.
What's the number for planning? Do you recall? I don't have my list. I'm lost without my list right now.
The budget number,
Yeah, budget number where we have planning, planning expenses.
I believe it's 80/20.
I'm looking at 8,600 here. 80/20.
oh,
Yeah, it is. Jerry, page 194.
Okay, got it.
and we're also talking about a engineer and an assistant engineer.
No, so the
And-
engineering, so I have a different argument for engineering, but if we want to talk about planner, or just finish up, we have, I've included 10 months of salary for a planner in here. I did not include a salary for the assistant planner. And then we have secretary, office assistant, those kinds of things. So the increase is the 105 for the director of planning, which we can eliminate and have contract services cover it, as well as have our consulting planning model continue. I don't dislike Ashley. I think AKRF and Ashley are doing a good job. I know the boards like them. It's a little frustrating not having the planner around all the time, but it's nothing like my concern about an engineer and assistant engineer. That's for sure. That's a huge concern.
It's on page 80.
And I could defer the planner for another year and make sure we hire the engineer. That saves you $105,000 right off the bat.
And then we have on page 79, the village engineer, which would be hired in 6 months, somewhere around December, and an assistant engineer around the same time. And that's a total of $130,000 in the budget. But I got to say, you know, there's only so much I'm going to be able to keep up with the second phase of the sewer project, along with the road project, the cleaning of the waterways, having a point person engineer that represents us at the Army Corps project. There's quite a bit to do for an engineer and assistant engineer.
You know,
I would not be presenting it if it wasn't something that we absolutely need.
when
and
you
I
have
know-
a village, when you have a village that floods like this, and you have infrastructure, I don't think our infrastructure, our buildings would have deteriorated as rapidly and as extensively had we had an engineer on. And you have a village that floods like this, to not have an engineer, I think is not a great idea.
What we didn't have when we had an engineer is we didn't have the discipline, or at least I didn't have the awareness that our engineer would go and provide consulting services to our residents a lot of times. And maybe that's the job of a village engineer to some degree. But right now, I don't let our consulting engineer go to private, go to residential homes to ask for opinions or discussions without getting an escrow first, because it cost us money to send that consulting engineer to have those discussions. And Hernani, who's a very good engineer, there's no doubt about that, would have those appointments almost all day long with many people throughout the community. I'm not sure how that developed, but that isn't something that I would continue as a practice for our village engineer in the future.
So I'd be willing to take out the planner.
I think the engineer is a different story, and I think,
Yeah.
you know, really,
Good.
because that engineer needs to, we need to have somebody who's got a license who's doing this stuff.
Yep.
And it's, you know, it's not really fair or appropriate for you to be doing it.
No, I agree. I mean, it's not, so, you know, I take a lot of risks and I have a lot of experience, but that's not educated experience. That's just practical experience that I've learned over the many years. And so I'm comfortable, and we have a good consulting engineer.
Mhm.
He does, you know, he does a lot of work for us, but he doesn't do everything for us. I don't have him, you know, working on every little bit. So an engineer and a staff person, an assistant engineer, I think would bring a lot of value to the community, a lot of value.
And I think there's also a risk to onboarding a lot of new people at the same time, because it's a lot more people, it's a lot more professionals to manage. And I think you've got a pretty good system going, a very good system going with AKRF.
No, on
mean-
the planning side, I agree.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I don't dislike it. I just,
All right, let's defer to planner
Okay.
and keep the engineer.
so Augie, we would be pulling, we would be zeroing around, Augie, we'd be zeroing out that line, if I can speak. That 105 in 80/20.
Okay,
Trustee Natchez has his hand up.
I understand the desire for the engineer. I'm not sure I understand the economics of the assistant engineer, whereas we can get, you know, project managers that would be, you know, for specific issues and specific projects. And that's all they do. I just, you know, it would, I think, cost the village less on a long-term basis to do it that way. And that's what many of the municipalities do.
I disagree. I think that we need a robust and vigorous engineering department in this community. And the fact that we haven't had it for decades, you know, with the exclusion of Hanani, I think is the cause of a lot of the deterioration that you see and that our residents see. You know, we're talking about $150,000 to do a study of the effects of flooding in Washingtonville, other than, you know, the Army Corps. And that's work that can be done by engineers, of village engineers, or at least assisted.
I don't think so. I don't think that a municipal engineer is going to have that expertise.
I think a lot of them would.
I don't think so.
Well,
Um,
I don't think flooding is not a exotic, you know, engineering task. I think it's part of what they do.
No,
I can't really
the-
speak to managing project managers, because I never really hired project managers. I can understand that it helps us with the short term, and we don't have to pay for benefits, and it's an all-in, you know, hourly price or however project managers work. But you know, when they don't work for me and they're an hourly employee or an hourly 1099 employee, there's a little bit of a different dynamic as far as how much I can push them and how much expectations I can put on them and deadlines I can put on them. I mean, it's not a secret that I push people. So as much as I push myself, I push other people. So I'm not going to say that I don't know any, you know, I'm going to say, honestly, I don't know anything about really managing a project manager, but it's a little different with me in the dynamic with staff than it is with an outside consultant being here all day long.
So I think what, maybe I'm wrong. I think what Dan said was that we would have a full-time engineer and use project managers for special projects. So
For
in
the
that
projects?
case,
Yeah.
in that case, it might be in that case, it might be the village engineer who is managing a project manager. I
Mhm.
mean, I don't think that should be that's like, you don't need one more task like that.
So I think we need both of these positions. And if we find we don't in the future, we could make arrangements then. But, let's go big on this and try and solve some of the glaring problems that this community has.
Well, I mean, we agreed a month ago that we were going to commission these flood studies, and I don't know that we've had the staff the time to do that yet, but I wouldn't want to wait till we hire a full-time engineer.
I wouldn't want to wait either. I think we should commission the flood studies, but there'll be other studies. There's Beaverbrook Swamp. There's a whole bunch of other places.
The
Well,
dam,
you know, let's-
the dam and the reservoir and all that.
before we, I mean, we've got another almost 2 weeks before we adopt this budget. I think it would be worth figuring out what kinds of skills and the ability to do studies that municipal engineers have, because I think in most communities, those kinds of projects are done by outside consultants. So I think when we made a lot of progress today, and I think we should keep talking about it.
So let me propose something here where, like we did with.
Just let me go back a second. It doesn't look good to be making these decisions because at the final meeting, because then staff has to alter the documents while we're there.
Then, if we have another meeting, we have another meeting. This is our job to deal with the budget.
We're here tonight.
Well,
Can we do the same thing that we did with the assistant harbor master?
mhm.
And potentially add for an assistant engineer into the budget, $21,250 for 3 months worth of salary. That gives us the ability to bring in an engineer in 6 months when we're ready for that person. And then see how our budget looks, but also whether that engineer may prefer the project manager model or having a staff person. Basically the same idea.
And a lot
Have
of
it
it
in there.
really
Yeah.
depends on the people we hire.
Yeah.
What I'd like to suggest is I think we've covered a lot of ground today and we have a lot of issues to think about. I think we need to meet one more time next week and thrash all these things out and make decisions on them. I don't, that's where I'm coming from.
What?
Can we recap real quick right now with the changes that we have? I just want to review really quick. There's 20,000 in harbor master assistant has been reduced to. That's a decrease of 10,750. The
Yep.
postage went down by 2,600. We're
Yep.
removing the planner of 105.
Yep.
Which means currently we're 104,000 over the cap.
Right.
So these are the capital items up above. I
Right.
don't know if there's any one of these capital items you want to bring back to capital, so you're under the cap. Just to
Yeah.
review where we are right now.
So how long does a set of turnout gear last, Og? Do you recall? I don't recall.
10 years.
10 years.
10 years.
But the closest one that belongs to capital is the HAVAC system, the
Fleet
police
RMP.
cars, the fleet cars.
The cars.
But I would be fine with buying those fleet cars out of surplus. It's 169,000 out of surplus.
Yeah. So then you pretty much have no issue. You'd
Well,
be just under the cap.
You have an issue for this year, but then you have an ongoing issue. And one of the things that, we've been trying to do, and I think very successfully, is trying to understand, and putting in budgeting principles. For the past few years, we have been putting things in the capital budget that, in my opinion, should not have been. But prior to the last few years, none of them were in the capital budget. And it was done in order to,
Still tax 200,000.
stay under the cap. That's why it was done. And it was, sort of.
But it's no
Just-
secret. It's
And I
no
think-
secret that
Let
I've
me
been
just,
trying to okay, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead. It's no secret that I'm trying to for a little while now, try to get everyone on the board to spend some surplus money to pay for some of these items. I mean, we talk about that the least. We have surplus.
Mhm.
It's already raised from taxes and revenue that we've had in the past. The surplus just doesn't magically appear, and it comes from our residents. So to have that money reinvest back into the community and purchase police cars or purchase, an item isn't necessarily the worst thing in the world, especially since we are well over our 30%
Way over.
guideline threshold.
Yeah. We're all-
That's not that's not the issue. The issue is you have ongoing expenses every year, and that's why they shouldn't be in the capital budget. They're an operating budget. You want to pay for things out of surplus. I don't have a problem with that, but I do have a problem with paying something out of surplus that is an ongoing expense that's going to be in next year's budget.
Okay.
We don't just kick the can down the road, and it may work, it may not work next year. But it's not the right budgeting principle.
You can increase it.
Spending, the fact is, if you look at what's been going on in the past 10 years, our surplus is growing every year. So taking $169,000 out of surplus to buy police cars is actually just redirecting the taxpayers' money. And it takes it out of the operating budget, which satisfies, your concern. It's no longer in the operating budget. And it's no longer being capitalized. And we have a surplus that's ridiculously high. That we set an artificial 30% that, really didn't need to be, and we're way over that 30%. So this is redirecting the taxpayers' funds to stuff that they've already paid taxes on.
I'd like to meet next week and go through this.
I want to finish it tonight.
I'm not, Tom, I think we need to finish next week. And I know you've had it, I know you've had.
Stop a second. We are within $100 and something thousand of being there.
Yeah, we're 104.
May I say that?
Yeah.
And isn't our sales tax estimate low?
It is. It's
Yeah.
conservative.
How conservative is it?
We're probably under $250,000. We probably could add comfortably $250,000 to that number.
Well, then we're not really under the tax cap.
No,
Well-
because you can add to the projection and be right there.
Yeah.
But we could also say that, everything, including like the price of coffee is going up. So there's electricity is going up. People are back in Village Hall more. I mean, we also don't know. So, and when sales tax goes up, it's because of inflation. So people are spending more on other things. So that may offset our other expenses.
Inflation only helps the outlook for the sales tax.
Yes, but it also costs, but it also affects our bottom line because everything we buy costs more money. So it's, we're spending more. We don't pay sales tax, but we're spending more money for everything we get. And the reason we're getting more sales tax is because everybody else is too. So
it just seems that some of us are a little too gloomy about what appears to be a pretty good-looking financial picture. I don't know what you would wait for.
I'm not trying to be gloomy. I'm trying to. I spent a lot of time as a trustee going to controller training, learning about budgets, learning about municipal budgets, and trying to get things right. And I think Augie and Jerry and the staff have done an incredible job of preparing a long-term, a 5-year capital plan, which was not something that was, when Tom and I ran for office, it was just a suggestion. So we've made a lot of strides. We have a fund balance policy we're working on, which we also have to vote on. That's been adjourned. We adjourned that and didn't deal with it last week. We're, working on, a capital budget policy. And if we're going to spend from our reserves, which we can, we need to, they should be one-shot items, but they shouldn't be repetitive items. We can do it this year, but we can't fall on that as a crutch again next year. And I think that, we're $100,000 off, but we're still not there in terms of intellectually how we should be following this process and all the good work that the staff has made.
Well,
And
I'm
I
suggesting,
think one more meeting would be appropriate. I mean, I think, and unless, if Tom, and I understand why Tom doesn't want to do it on the 25th, because that's hard for staff, because there's, changes as the night we're trying to adopt the budget. But, and if we don't adopt the budget, there's a not great consequence, right, Augie? We have to adopt the budget.
No, there is. But it's,
So,
so Augie, roll up if you could, roll up a little bit if you could. Capitalize.
I guess I just don't understand what we're gonna discuss in another meeting that we're not discussing here tonight.
Yeah. There isn't much in this here. Computer
Or we're just waiting
monitors.
for Victor? I mean, what is it?
what, yeah, did anybody know what happened to Victor?
I don't know what happened to Victor. I didn't hear anything.
I don't know. I don't know. I hope he's okay.
Mhm.
Oh.
There's items here though, that once we purchase them, and we want to change things out, but once we purchase some of these items, they're not gonna just last. I understand that we want to purchase, $5,000 worth of monitors every year
Mhm.
and router hardware and workstations every year. I understand that part, but these items are easily purchased when we need to purchase them right out of a transfer from fund balance at any time. When Augie and Cliff want to purchase, $5,000 worth of computer monitors, we don't have to put them into this operating budget. We go in, we say, hey, we've been running low on our supply of computer monitors because we have 4 or 5 in stock and we've issued them out. We need another replenishment. That may be, in 11 months, that may be in 14 months.
That is correct.
So that's some of the
But-
things
but-
that we can use as a tool.
If we took out the public safety of the fire department, 20 sets of turnout gear and bailout system, that's $112,600. And we bought them at a surplus when the time came. Wouldn't that put us under the cap?
It would.
Yes.
Put you under the cap. It put you under the cap. And in fact, what you could do right now is you could purchase that bailout system and the 20 sets of turnout gear right now at the next meeting and satisfy that. And the fire department's not going to say, no, we were ordering them too early. And you're using it at a surplus. Using it at a surplus, you're using taxpayer money that you've collected to outfit our fire department, the all volunteer fire department that continues to make, 400 or 500 calls a year. I don't see harm in that too much. So
What about that idea? Does that work for you guys?
I mean, I think it works in the short term. We still haven't solved our long-term
But
sort of budget philosophy, and that's something I'm interested in.
I actually picked those items, Laura, because they don't recur every year.
No, it's just having the conversation about how we use the reserve fund, what the one shots are. I'm not, what a one shot would be really fixing Village Hall. That's a one shot. A one shot would be putting in those windows at the community counseling center. The building's nearly 100 years old and it's never had a new window. And, Jeff found,
I would finalize that building. That would be the final.
Those are one shots, and those are things we haven't taken care of our buildings. It's costing us more money now. Yes, we're lucky that we have been careful and we have more than a 30%, we have a good fund balance. But lots of communities start out with good fund balances and they use it too often and they don't have them. So that's what it's the bigger picture. It's not just this budget. It's, leveraging all the work the staff has done to get us to this stage where we're having these really good budgets.
If I can say, Mayor, if I can say, if we pull out if I could just say one thing, if we pull out the bailout system and the 20 sets of turnout gear, we're actually doing both. We're utilizing some of fund balance to purchase items, for public safety, but then we're also in this budget adding LED light conversion all the way up to computer monitors. It's in this budget if we take those 2 items out.
So like that, exactly. So this is a good compromise because stuff that was going.
We're doing both at the same time. And then what we can do is if there are during the capital budget discussions, and we can have any of those, we can have those discussions in subsequent meetings. If there are items that want to come out, Augie and I could put them into the next time we do this budget exercise and say, these are items that the board doesn't want to have as capital items. They want to put them in as budget items. And we would start out with that.
I think that's a good point, because what you're doing then is we are now paying for police vehicles and all of that out of the operating budget like we're supposed to, and I'll give you that.
It's a difference.
But by taking out, but we're doing it in increments, right? We're putting a lot more in the operating budget than we used to put in. But this year we're just going to pay for the bailout systems and the 20 set of turnout gear through through
Fund
surplus.
balance. Yeah.
So I think you
There's
gotta
a
look at
slight
it, guys,
deviation.
like, you've made a lot of progress here. You have
We
all
have.
these stuff that are recurring, and they're now coming out of the operating budget and no longer being capitalized. So, there's a yin yang here, right? Lou, you were gonna say something?
Yeah, if our policy is to have a reserve of 30%, and we're over, why don't we balance the accounts like you do with the taking profits on a tax and bring it down to 30% and then take the money out and use it? Spend it, I mean.
But Nora keeps bringing that point up because we still have some buildings to fix and we want to potentially utilize that.
But our policy is 30%.
No, the
What are we
policy-
saving for?
No, that's, the policy isn't 30%. It's don't dip lower than 30%. That's a trigger where we have to rebuild it. So no, it's taxpayer money, but we have a lot of expenses coming down the road.
It's taxpayer money, and I think taxpayers would have a reason to believe is, why don't they buy something with it instead of sit on it?
Well-
Okay, so, but just let me point out what I was saying before. There's $300,000 worth of items, I'm just doing a rough in my head.
Yeah.
That was going to be capitalized, that is
Right.
now in the operating budget.
Right. That's an accomplishment.
That is an accomplishment.
Yep.
What I'm saying is take 112,600, pay for it out of surplus. And next year, you only have to up the budget a little more to get everything in the operating budget again. I'm
correct.
saying, take 3/4 of a loaf here.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is, thank you. It's the conversation that's as important to me as the numbers, is
And
getting
I think
to a place.
you, the majority won the point. That's what I'm trying to say. Accept victory.
Right.
Accept victory and move on.
I mean, you guys, if you guys want to meet, that's fine, but there's not much else for Augie and I to say.
No,
We don't
you're
really
right.
have anything else to do here.
So can we have a consensus to take the bailout system and the 20 set of turnout gear, buy them out of surplus? And I want the fire department to know we're going to buy them and
Post haste.
and put everything else that was going to be capitalized back into the operating budget. And I think that's a big achievement. This is a glass half full.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm okay with that. And then let's keep working on the capital budget, because
I
there
agree,
may
I
be,
agree.
because there may be stuff we should be doing while we can bond things that are less expensive.
Nora's right.
Point.
Nora's right, but there's also,
That's good. I'm sold.
you may find, Nora, one or two items that should be maybe potentially, eliminated, or we can do something else with it. So it works.
What do you say?
With those swings of 7,000.
And
That was 7,000 under the cap.
the other thing I'd say is, I want to thank Augie and his staff and Jerry for those, regular reports, because we're keeping up to date. We know where we are in the budget.
Yeah.
And that's not something we knew 2 years ago. And I know this year was another crazy year, but maybe quarterly, we need to look at those two and make it public. I know, although I do know a lot of people are looking at them because they're posted online.
Yeah. So,
Um,
and I want to say thank you for that, but also internally what we're doing, and I mentioned this before in one of our other meetings, is internally we have a really been tough on the purchase order process. So, purchase order is 1,500, but when I want to tighten it up, I bring it down to 500. So the purchase orders go up exponentially when I bring that down to 500. It really tightens things up. And that's what's been helping save money.
Because every little bit counts.
All right, so I think we made really good progress here. And
I'm raising my hand. See, look.
look at that, it's taking a victory lap.
Now Glenn's hands up.
Glenn's hands up. I'm gonna mimic Glenn. I'm gonna put my hand up.
There's a hen's tooth, Glenn's hands up.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Glenn.
Hi, Glenn.
Glenn's not on. Go now, Glenn.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has probably been the most successful negotiation in the history of the Village of Mamaroneck. I congratulate all of you, and I have nothing negative to say about the budget project that you just put together. Congratulations.
Thank you, Glenn. I take full credit.
Glenn, that's pretty funny, but you were the spark that lit that fire, and we appreciate that. We really
Yeah,
do.
Glenn,
Thank you, Glenn.
you're all right.
You're
I don't
Thank
care
you.
what anybody says.
Thank you, one and all. Enjoy your evening.
Take care, good night.
Take it easy.
All right, I need a motion to close this meeting.
So moved.
Well, okay,
I'm going.
Okay.
Second.
Dora had something?
No, she seconded.
Oh, okay.
second.
Augie, call roll.
Trustee Young,
Yes.
trustee Natchez, trustee Lucas,
Yes.
Mayor Murphy,
You forget somebody? Trustee Tofor
Tofor.
was absent. Mayor Murphy, aye. Have a good night, everybody. Oh, listen,
Good night.
happy Easter, happy Passover to those who celebrate.
All right. That's
Tomorrow, Passover?
I think so. It's Mark Passover.